everyone. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Pave It Forward podcast. My name is Phil Metzger, and with me is Kevin Gray. And we are here to help leaders in the paving industry who are looking to run more efficiently, meet their ideal customer, and improve the lives of those around them through meaningful work. Kevin, how are we doing today?
I'm good, brother. I'm good, man.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. How are things in Kentucky?
Things are good. I think hopefully some of the rain is getting out of here. April showers. You know what they say about that.
Yeah.
They bring May flowers or something like that. But
Yeah, well, they're certainly bringing you some greenery around you, man. You through some of your videos that I'm getting, man, it looks beautiful. I know it's tough on the paving schedule, but hopefully you're also getting some of that green in, and then also the temperatures aren't too high yet. Have they started to creep up into the 80s yet?
they're good. Yeah, it's man. I tell you what, the first I think it was the first day we seal coated, and then the first 2 days we paved. It was it was in the mid 80s actually, and dude, I was hurting. Those temperatures usually don't start kicking in until end of May, June, and then you got to acclimate to it for a couple weeks. But it, just like everything, when you're starting over, it just kicks you in the teeth right out of the gate. So I wouldn't have expected it any other way. We're just fortunate. We got work to do. The sun is out, and it's warm enough for us to go do what we love to do. Now it's cooled off a little bit since then. We're back in the low to mid 70s, so it's nice, man. And it man, we took a lot of rain in April, and things it's almost like a rainforest around here, man. So it's beautiful right now. So
Yeah,
it's time
absolutely.
to be outside.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's great, man. Glad to hear everything's running. And yeah, I appreciate everyone here for stopping in and listening to us babble about our paving obsession and how we aim to get better. For this episode, we thought, kind of already bringing up, Kevin, that you said that you're starting over again. And it's really kind of unique because you bought into a company that was existing and up and running and at some capacity, and then built that into a $7 million company from around a 500,000, I believe, 5 to 700,000
Yep.
dollars when you
Yep.
first got it. But you never had to really go back, which you can also debate which would be easier, starting scratch or starting, with someone else's problems, for better lack of a
Problems. Yep.
word,
Yep.
no matter which
Issues.
company you buy. So we were just gonna thinking about today, like maybe we can talk about that startup versus performance, because even in the little time we've been doing this since we started back over, you've gotten a couple messages on people looking to just start over fresh and do it themselves. So I guess just to kind of kick all this off, what are the differences between now versus when you had your business established?
Man, they're in the latter years of my, let's just call my career of my former life, for a lack of better terms. I feel like I'm starting over in life to some capacity, just learning a different way to live, learning a lot about myself, uh, learning a lot about how to be altruistic and treat others, and live a more purpose-driven, fulfilling, happy kind of life, man. It's start over mode in a lot of fashions, but uh, the last 4 or 5 years we worked together in the other business. We were talking about this in a meeting earlier that things were by that point. I was a decade or so into my career, and things were kind of just flowing. Cash flow was good. We had multiple crews bringing in income every day, and a board full of jobs that we could pick and choose from and go do. And when I look back at that, as hectic as that was and as stressful as that was, like, that's a different kind of stress. The stress today, that was more performance based metrics that we were able to draw data from and make decisions on, and was a little easier only in the capacity that we had the financial resources that made it a little easier. Now we're kind of dealing with what the term I guess we're using is kind of survival metrics, and figuring out, um, especially starting over, coming out of a winter, coming out of launching a business with very little capital or assets, or uh, much really to invest into the company. We do have the equipment we acquired and the manpower, but we're essentially starting from scratch. So your survival metrics look like, what do we need to do? I try to break it down even into the day to some capacity. What do we need to do to get through to this week, to get through the bills that are due next month? Because at this point, until cash flow really starts generating itself and a steadier stream of income starts happening as we become more relevant on Google and in SEO and more, credible, validated, edified out there in the real world. Even though I do have 15 years of experience and reputation in this community, it's with a totally different entity that's got its total different brand and identity and reputation. So this is very much starting over from scratch. I will say, you know, the last time I did this, we bought the company in 2011. I actually worked 2 years prior to that within the company, getting my arms around it a little bit, but it was really so from like 2009 until, gosh, 2015, 16, 17. So we're talking an 8, 9 year period there. That it really took me as a first time business owner, entrepreneur, wrapping my arms around how to run a business, how to be productive, how to get certain efficiencies, how to manage people, how to lead, how to build culture, how to brand, how to market, how to do all the things that got us to the point where it did get a little more performance based metric, to where we were really did understand our data and could use our data that we'd collected over the years to our advantage. I'd say the only thing, starting over this time is hopefully I have the opportunity, we as a business, and we as a market, you as my marketing arm and partner in this, we can eliminate that 8 or 9 year process of having to figure out how to do certain things because it was the first time we've done them. There are certain things we've done a lot of, we've done a lot of times, we have a lot of repetition with, we understand how to do it. So really, it's just starting at that point, having that knowledge, that wisdom, that experience. Thank God we don't have to start over that again. But just now starting it with a brand new entity that we have to make the public aware of, that we, let people know we're open for business, we're in business, get the phone ringing. You hear it, man, you hear it all the time. And I know it's not the only answer because there are so many aspects and facets to running, operating, managing, growing, building, cultivating culture in a business. But but man, sales sure does solve a lot of problems. And it solves problems because it's not because we're getting rich off of the sales. It's because it gives us the resources and the abilities to do certain things that we want to do that kind of just streamline the process into getting us where we want to go. It took me, like I said, that 8 or 10 years to realize how important, our marketing budget and our awareness and branding and culture and all that didn't even really become important to me until I was a decade into my career because I didn't understand the value behind it. And that was one of the things getting this business off the ground. I was like, even though it's a big expense to bring a marketing arm and a firm into the machine at this point, I know from experience that it's a necessary evil if we want to get to where we're going as quickly as possible and get relaunched and get our name out there and get SEO and Facebook and Google and social and all the things that drive business working for us. So
Sure.
it's it's being very strategic about picking and choosing the things that we can capture a return on investment with, and being pretty scientific about how we do that, when we do it, how much of it we can do, and things like that. So like we know how to go do the job. We know how to lay the pavement. We know how to seal coat parking lots. I know how to go out and sell the work, but it's like all the other pieces that hold that ship up, man. We gotta just do them the right way, the right time, at the right pace. So
Sure, sure. I mean, it's a huge part of the actual building of the company is filling in all the gaps from, What
Yeah.
are the meetings? What are the Chamber of Commerce that make sense? What are the meetings you can participate? Do you have the assets for those meetings to where you can succeed?
Yeah.
You know, do you have the right mentality? Do you have the time? Can you fit it into your schedule?
Yeah.
Everything
Great
that goes
point.
into that, everything that goes into that, which kind of leads me into the mentality. You've had to
Yeah.
have a new type of grind. You haven't been,
Dude.
you haven't had those leads. You've had to go out and do things in a new way. And so mentally, what are some of the things that you find yourself thinking about a lot? And whether that be positive or negative, how do you kind of feel that affecting what you're doing as a business right now?
Well, I think about the things that ultimately are going to, you know, push the rock up the mountain. And that's, we did the BIA tabletop event. We got involved with, we were very strategic about some of the Chamber of Commerce's. That's a tough one to say. Commerce's, if
Commerce.
that's even the correct way to say that. That we wanted to join. We did the J Town Chamber booth, and we look. I mean, those things are only, three, four, five, $600 investments, but it's like, what's the cost if we don't show up and go do those things? How if it takes 90 to 120 days for Google to start recognizing that we even exist when we didn't even really decide into, I was potentially focusing on an entirely different career path 6 months ago. And it wasn't until January, February was like my heart, my gut, my soul, my conscience, whatever it is telling me I need to explore this paving business avenue one more time, because there's something left on the table. There's something inside of me that was enough of a fire to say that's really what I want to do. And it's like, if we know it's going to be a 120-day process, at least from when did we get started? February, March?
Yeah, February
Um,
20th, I think, was when we
yeah. So
said, all right,
that's
let's
March, April,
put pen
May.
to paper and see what we got.
Yeah, so it's really June. Let's just say it's going to be June before people even really know we exist online, where most people do their research or they educate themselves on reputable contractors to hire or whatever. It's like, what other things do we need to be doing other than me going around driving around town all day knocking on people's doors, which I've done, by the way. I mean, I'm doing
Yeah,
it all. Like, we're putting signs up. It's like, how can we most effectively spend the little resources that we have right now and go get in front of 500 people at the BIA tabletop and the J Town Chamber, um, trade show, and go to join the Woodford County Chamber and be able to, tell that membership that, hey, we're here, we're open for business, so.
well, tell me about that mentality, because it has to be somewhat of a struggle. You know, when you're used to having the most important thing, the valuable thing in sales and leads come your way without, whether they be good or bad, you have opportunities coming to you. So when you're waiting for that reputation to build up, whether it be the handshake or SEO, like, what is your mentality and what are some of those thoughts that you may have to stave off, and what are the mentalities that keep you going?
I mean, you just got to get back into grind mode, because the business we had established prior that I was removed from and bought out of, the phone rang 3,000 times a year. And it rang 2,000 times a year before you and I even got started really pushing the brand and the marketing and all that. So I mean, when I got involved in 2009, when it was just a little $500,000 one crew, 7-man operation driveway company, the phone was ringing 1,500, 1,800 times a year. And now it's, as we're getting started, I mean, we're lucky to get it ringing 5 or 10 times a week, which is good. I mean, the phone's ringing, people are finding us. So like,
Sure.
what we're doing is working. But it's just, man, what I've really had to do um is just teach myself how to not just talk about it, but how to practice some patience and practice trusting the process and embracing the journey. and saying it is just April. We did just launch. The phone can't be ringing that much, like, and just put my nose down and be grateful of the leads we are getting and the opportunities we have. We've already completed about a dozen projects this year, and we've only had a handful of workable days so far this season. So I mean, we're not on a bad pace. Like we're turning revenue, we're doing jobs, we're signing contracts, and I'm getting. If I say, hey, our goal, I'll just say what it is. We have a $2 to $3 million revenue goal this year. I know that means if we got 40 weeks to perform work in Louisville, Kentucky, where we're operating, we've got about 40 weeks to do that. So we need to be selling and producing at least $50,000 a week, $50,000 to $75,000 a week. And right now, until we have more established data and more analytics and more metrics that we can dive into and start creating historical data with this new company and our new marketing, I know for right now, I just got to stay in the moment. I got to stay in the day. I got to stay in the week and say, this is what we need to be producing to get to where we're going by the end of the year. Because if we get there by the end of the year, then everything we've got established in the budget, in the profit and loss statement budgets that we've put together, we say at least all the things we're planning to do and how we intend to operate are going to be paid for. And that allows us a chance to survive and play again next season. So right
Yeah,
now, I mean, that's it. Like, it's like, get through the first 90 days, get through the first 6 months, get through the first season, get us an opportunity to get into year two. And by year five, we'll probably look back at this and and we'll be so grateful of the grind, and we won't forget how hard this was,
sure.
but it'll almost be like, man, we crushed it again. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
because we,
absolutely.
you know,
Does breaking down, so, when you talk about 2 million, no matter what the number is, if it, you talked about, you've talked before about setting lofty goals and, needing to, to overstate those goals. And if you come up a little bit short, that's okay. Can you kind of talk about your mentality the first time around when you were just putting pedal to the metal and just trying to get a million versus kind of doing things like breaking down this weekly thing and having mental, um, whether they be mental tricks or just hard data or just things that you do and look upon as experience now?
yeah, I mean, and thank God I've got the experience now. When in 2011, when I said, um, all right, 2012, we're going to do $1 million, and we did 1.2. Uh, I didn't have any knowledge or data to validate that we were even making any money on that 1.2. Like, we
Yeah,
just did it, and it was almost the end of the year before we realized we actually lost over a quarter million. Like, how are we going to get through the winter? All the money's spent. Oh, and by the way, we still owe a lot of people a lot of money for material, for whatever. Some of the things, we I didn't understand cash flow. I didn't understand budgets. I didn't have a clue what I didn't know how to bid work. I didn't know what jobs were good jobs versus what jobs we didn't want to entertain. I was like, just bring all the work in the door and we'll go do it. And if we do $1 million, we're going to be rich at the end of the year. And it's
yeah,
like, it does. So like, now when I say it, back then in 2011, when I said we're going to do 1.2, it wasn't, we need to do 1.2 so that we can survive the winter and get into 2013. It was, we're going to do 1.2 so we can all make a bunch of money, and I'm going to prove a point that we could do $1 million. Like, now 15, 16, 17 years into doing this, I have enough historical data in my mind and data I've collected over the years, like just kind of the fluidity and repetition of doing this season after season after season, like, and being able to put it on paper and saying, hey, if we do 2 million, our material is going to cost us this much, our labor is going to cost us this much, our advertising budget's going to be, and trucking is going to be this, and insurance is going to be this, and our long-term liability payments are this, and take all that into account and say, we've at least got to get to 2 million to make it. have a little bit extra to get through the next winter, and then be able to restart again in 2025. So it's a totally different mindset. Now I could
Absolutely.
sit here and say, hey, we're gonna if look, and I know we got to get to 2 million to survive, but in my mind, I'm like, what? I'm shooting for 3 million, because
Sure.
that buys us a little more comfort. That
Sure.
buys us more options. That allows us to reinvest in equipment and crew and personnel and potentially a shop, and paying you an advertising, marketing bonus, like
Yeah. Yeah.
all the things that really start, building and solidifying an actual company again.
Sure. Yeah. A set of
So now
systems that
it's,
can
yeah, the
run
systems,
everything,
right, right.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I want to tell anyone that's listening out there, if there's any part of that last piece that he just mentioned that sounded educational, if there is something, where we can go over how he preps for the winter months starting now, what information does he look at to figure out that type of stuff? We're in the process of beginning to offer more resources, more educational opportunities, and we're really in research mode as to what that might be for a lot of people. So whether it be a wide range of topics, please feel free to reach out and let us know what you're interested in. You can reach out to Kevin or I, or through the Pave It Forward channels. But for today, that's gonna have to wrap up our episode here. Kevin, I really appreciate the insight. There's definitely a few things we're gonna pick up on the next one. Is there anything
Yeah.
else that you wanted to finish on before getting out of here today?
Oh man, I don't think so, man. It's unfortunate we've got some time constraints today, because I really feel like we could dive into this, and hopefully we can. Like I think there's some important topics within some of what we were just able to discuss that we can kind of circle the wagons back to and get and dive into maybe a little deeper, maybe get some feedback, like you said, from the listeners, the people that are checking us out, and see if they have any specific questions that they may want answered. And I like getting into stuff like this, because it helps me run a better business. I mean, selfishly, it helps me have the conversation and say these things out loud, and tell myself these things out loud too. So it's as good for me as hopefully it is good for
Sure.
someone else that's listening. So
Sure, sure. We're just sitting here banging our swords together,
yeah,
and sharpening them that way. So
that's
hopefully
it.
everyone else out there can gain something for this too. And it is about those opportunities to grow and learn. So Kevin, as always, I appreciate your time. We're going to go back through this.
Thank you.
So go ahead and subscribe, especially on Facebook and Instagram. Those are going to be our two most active networks that we're on, especially if you have questions for us or if you want to submit something, please reach out to us there. But for now, that'll be it. This has been the Pave It Forward podcast where we let's try that again. This has been the Pave It Forward podcast where we aim to help leaders in the paving industry who are looking to run more efficiently, meet their ideal customer, and improve the lives of those around them through meaningful work. Thanks for listening, everybody.